Broads Media.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Broads. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm probably a little bit too passionate about the topic we're going to touch on today, to the point where I'm forcing myself to dial it back because I'll probably lose my mind. And it's a weird one, and it's strange. And to be honest with you, it's more about principle than the actual player, Kevin Hayes, and the problem that he's having with John Tortorella. I should say the problem John Tortorella is having with Kevin Hayes. And I just want to make sure it's very clear from the beginning of the show. I'm tired of Tortorella's antics, but I'm not saying he's a bad coach. I'm not saying I don't want him to be here. I'm not saying it's time for the Flyers to fire him. I'm very upset with the front office, more so at the front office than the head coach. But I can't lie. There is something that I feel is an issue with the way he approaches certain players, and it's not just here. It's not just what's happening right now. I find it strange that every single place he goes, there's one guy that he targets, that he despises, and that he makes a message of. And I think it's weird because you look at Pierre-Luc Dubois, okay? And you look at what he's doing in Winnipeg since he moved on from Columbus. He has 15 goals so far this season. In 32 games, he's got 37 points. Last year for Winnipeg, he almost had 30 goals. He had 28 goals and 60 points in 81 games. If you can't use that as a head coach, I find that very bizarre. Let's go to Patrik Laine. His time in Winnipeg, his first 3 seasons, 36 goals, 44 goals, 30 goals, 28 goals. And by the way, he was only a minus in one of those seasons. If you can't utilize a player that can net 30 plus and in one season 44, I find that very bizarre. And that's why I look at it and go, okay, is this really about Kevin Hayes, or is this a bigger message that he's trying to send? Whether it's to the players or whether it's to the front office, or really Dave Scott and Comcast, that the front office isn't getting it done. Because, well, Kevin Hayes is being sort of the target. He's in the crosshairs. Okay. I don't believe that John Tortorella is looking at Kevin Hayes when he decides to sit him for 20 minutes, an entire third period, and then healthy scratch him against his former team because he sees more in Kevin Hayes, because he's trying to get the best out of Kevin Hayes, because he's saying, yo, dude, I believe in you. I know there's something in there. I got to get it out of you. And if you're not going to recognize it every single day, then I got to bench you so then maybe you can look yourself in the mirror. I don't think it's that at all. I think it's so Dave Scott can go, yo, Chuck Fletcher sucks. Look at this. But my problem is, well, then why is Ristolainen playing every day? Why is Travis Sanheim playing every day? Provorov gets danced nonstop. I watched Zach McEwen, Delorier on the ice for the Toronto Maple Leafs scoring goals. McEwen's leaving his feet. And what bothers me is I watched John Tortorella literally say that this game is all about making mistakes. And guess what? For some of these players, if you're making mistakes, it's because you're trying to make a difference. Specifically, Cam York. So why is it that some guys have a leash that allows for them to make all these mistakes, and then when Kevin Hayes is making a mistake, then it's no way, you're not allowed to play anymore? And it shouldn't be because he gets paid a lot of money. See, this is what my issue is. I am with everybody who says Kevin Hayes has defensive zone problems. There's defensive zone problems, absolutely, 1,000%. But if you want to use that card, that, well, he turned instead of finishing his check in the corner, or his forecheck was off, or, he turned the puck over, then Scott Lawton can't play, Konechny's not allowed to play, Morgan Frost isn't allowed to play. Oh, but Morgan Frost is starting to play offense better, bro. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Kevin Hayes has 29 points in 32 games this season. By the way, this same Kevin Hayes had about 50 points, 45 to 50 points when playing for the New York Rangers. If you can't utilize that, I find that very weird. Very weird. Even with his flaws. All these players have flaws. Why is his Leash, way shorter. See, in professional sports, I personally believe that you allow the veterans to have the longer leash. Guys are going to make mistakes. But what he's doing is just crushing Kevin Hayes, stepping on his soul and destroying it. It doesn't need to be that way. He's going way too far. Accountability is fine, but there's a level of respect in pro sports. When you're around for a long period of time, he's an NHL player. So if you think, well, he stinks, he's something. No. He gets paid too much money. He's an everyday NHL player. Chuck Fletcher paid him too much money, but you can't then not utilize him just because the GM spent too much cash on him. He's got 29 points in 32 games. It's less about Kevin Hayes. It's less about Pierre-Luc Dubois. It's less about Laine. And there's plenty of others on the list. And it's more about why everywhere he goes, his tactic is, there's one guy and I'm going to pick on him so insanely that he hates playing the game. He despises hockey. And I'm going to make him basically hate his life. I don't get that part of it. I saw the NHL Network highlight package, or I should say the non-highlights of them. Part of me wonders, though, if you're John Tortorella's boy, you're going to support him. Of course you can find shifts where Kevin Hayes doesn't do well. And you're going to find shifts where Konechny doesn't do well, and Provorov doesn't do well, and anybody else on this team doesn't do well. So you could find those same exact clips from Kevin Hayes from every player that gets dressed for the Flyers on a night-to-night basis. You can find the same exact thing. That's why they don't win many hockey games. I don't like the finger pointing, and I don't get the finger pointing. All right? And you think about what he said to the media after the Columbus Blue Jackets game. And yeah, you know what? That bothered me a little bit. If you didn't hear what he said, he was asked, and it was a very fair question from the media. It was Sam Carchidi. What did you think of Kevin Hayes' game? And he said, I'm not giving you an update. You don't deserve an update because you're trying to pin him against me. Well, hold on a second. Your actions is what's happening here. It's not the media pinning a fake story about the John Tortorella-Kevin Hayes relationship. Your actions is what started that. And then, by the way, the player rightfully disagreed publicly to everybody. This isn't getting made up. Now, I tweeted something out about that whole back and forth. And I said, I'm kind of getting sick of it. Doesn't mean I want him gone. Doesn't mean I despise him and hate him and thinks he's dumb. I don't think he's dumb. I think he's a very sharp coach. I just think he crosses the line in certain areas. And the one area I think it is the mental side of it. He pushes you to a level that I think it is a bit extreme. And if your response is, shut up, you're soft, it's a different way about it now. Nick Sirianni is one of the best coaches in the National Football League. Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl here. Andy Reid, the way you treat these guys is you see what they do, you allow them to be yourself, and then you mold your ideas and your beliefs around what you have. What I think John Tortorella does as an old school guy is you're going to play my way or you're not going to play at all. And I think that there's a ceiling within that range. And because they were so pitiful in areas in previous seasons, yeah, there's a lot of strengths to that. I think there's a lot of concepts that I do wrap my head around. And I go, you know what? That's fair. It's not all bad. It's not. But there are some players that aren't going to be as good defensively, but might be able to help more offensively. There's going to be guys that are really good defensively who maybe can't produce offensively. There's guys who are going to be power play specialists. There's guys who are going to be PK guys. But if you can't use players, and not Kevin Hayes isn't even like a gross offensive player, but he can still give you something, and he's having a good season point production-wise. But if you can't use Laine, if you can't use Pierre-Luc Dubois, yet look what he's doing for the Jets. No one else finds that weird. I find it weird. They can play in this league every night. You just have to find the way to do it. And maybe the issue is the rest of the team stinks, so it's not as if you can hide that defense with some line mates who are sharp. Okay, but that's not a Kevin Hayes problem. The last thing I'm trying to tell you is Kevin Hayes is a better defender than John Tortorella is giving him credit for. Part of the solution might be you move him from center to wing. And at one point, I thought it was ridiculous to move him out of center, but if that's part of it, fine. I'm going back to he's pointing the finger too much at him, making him the bigger problem than the reality of it. There's a huge... Kevin Hayes works if you have a lot of talent on the team. Like, you can use Kevin Hayes in the National Hockey League. Problem is salary. Absolutely. What does this do, though, for him with the rest of the league? Not that any team would want to acquire him right now, but if you were willing to take on some money and maybe you can get cute and get creative. The issue is I don't trust the general manager right now. And whether he gets canned and moved to president of hockey ops only and someone else slides into the GM spot, it's a whole mess. It's a whole ordeal. You don't have the people in place to get creative and cute with it. You saw the issue with the JVR during the offseason to, kind of create some money there or, try to make a big splash during the offseason. You already saw that whole thing not play out in a creative way. But anyway, getting back to the media side of things, I just wanted to be very clear because I said I'm kind of sick of it. And the way I labeled it was, so let me get this straight. You benched him for a third period. You scratched him the next game against his former team. And the player then responded publicly, and the media is the one spitting some nonsense. It's just not true. He called it ludicrous. And a ton of the reactions is sort of like this. They don't owe the media anything. It's about what's happening in the room. It's not about the media so they can go write a fake story. See, this is where you're losing the connection. This is where the disconnect occurs. There's multiple different layers to media. Sports talk radio, that's entertainment. You can have more fun, more opinionated stuff. Columnist, yes, that's opinionated writing. But then there's guys and women who are on the beat, which their job is to just be objective, write some stories, write some game stories, things along those lines, right? When you think about it, the media's job, whether you think it's fair or not, the coaches have an obligation and the team has an obligation league-wide to provide information. The media's job is to get that information for the fan. So when you ask what was Kevin Hayes' game like, it's because the fans, the diehard fans that want to know, John, you thought he wasn't good enough for multiple occasions now. It didn't happen just once. It didn't happen just twice. This has been an ongoing issue for a long period of time with one of your veteran players who the entire league, not just the locker room, but the entire league absolutely loves. How did you think he played against the Columbus Blue Jackets? This isn't something where we're trying to pretend like we're throwing a smoke grenade, we're throwing a smoke bomb, and we're trying to nitpick you. The fans who spend their hard-earned money, who spend their time emotionally connecting with the franchise for years and years and years, want an update on, did you think that was better? Did you not think that was better? The media's job is to get information from the team for the fan. That's the number one priority. There's different layers to it. Like I said, there is an entertainment piece. There are some opinionated media members. But that's the real duty of the job. So stop saying they don't owe the media, and it's not for the media. It's for you. It's for you. And if you say you don't care, fine. You're entitled to that. You don't have to care. But most of the fan base does care about what the coach thinks about a big-time priority and a big-time storyline on the guy that he said you deserve to watch in a suit upstairs. And by the way, this guy gets paid over $7 million to play for this franchise. So what's the benefit again? Because I don't think this makes it sexy and appealing for any other team out there. Yet his point production is really good for him. It's not about the long term. I don't know what the long term is for a lot of these guys. I really don't. We know Torch likes Noah Cates, fine. See, my issue is you have a lot of bottom six guys. The bar is so low for Morgan Frost, and I know he's actually been lighting the lamp a little bit lately, and it's been nice. He had 4 points against Arizona. He scored a couple goals in the last few games. Definitely buying time and space, and he's not rushing plays, and he's seeing the ice very well. There's a lot of things that are awesome with Morgan Frost, but he's a first-round draft pick that, for me, is a third-liner. Scott Lawton, the first-round draft pick, who's a third-liner. At this point, I think Provorov is a second-pairing guy. I think Travis Sanheim is a second-pairing guy. Ristolainen, you gave up a lot for him. He's not very good. He's not giving you anything on the offensive end. So right now, we have a lot of your first-round picks either being a bottom six player or a second-line defenseman. I don't understand why Kevin Hayes is getting most of the blame from the coach. It's weird that it's everywhere he goes. To me, that means he's looking for it. It's forced. He's not a perfect player. He's a flawed player. Flawed player. So is everyone on this team. And you want to watch tape? Yeah, Zach McEwen might leave it all out there. Those fourth-line guys, they tend to do that. I believe John Tortorella is disrespecting the player in Kevin Hayes. Accountability, I'm fine with. You want to bench a player for 20 minutes, put him in the next night, whatever. There's a line. And I don't think that he's doing the right thing with that line. But guess what? I don't think he cares. And that's another side of it. I don't think he cares. Because Tortorella has been very vocal about this. He's going to build it the right way in his eyes. That doesn't mean it's definitely the right way, but in his eyes, the right way. And he might not be here for the finishing touches because it might take that long. I don't hate someone looking more at the long-term process. I don't think it needs to be the same exact path that he's taking, though. I think his logic is fine. But do I fully agree with how to get there and the blueprint with it? Because if you can't get rid of Kevin Hayes, and Kevin Hayes is a part of this, whether you like it or not, because there's a lot of money tied to your name, is this the best way to go about it? You might not be able to change the player. But part of your duties as a coach, if this is what you're handed, and trust me, as bad as it is, I'm talking about the player Kevin Hayes. As much as we talk about the deficiencies, for the individual player, there's a lot of worse out there. Like, he's one of your best players on the team. Now, your team stinks. But if you have a well-constructed team, I'm talking about a team that is making playoff runs. If Kevin Hayes is on your third line, not that you want to spend $7 million, $7+ million on a third liner, because you don't. I'm just telling you. If you're talking about a third line player in the NHL, and by the way, Kevin Hayes, 50 points in the NHL. It's like there's something missing for me throughout this whole thing. So we're not saying he's a superstar. We're not saying he's elite. I'm saying if you can't work with this, I have questions. You should be able to play him every game. If you're losing, turnover, yeah, you're bad in the D's. I got you. I'm not telling you he's a great defender. I'm telling you I don't agree with the disrespect of a player, no matter who it is. Remove the names. He breaks players with it sometimes. You don't need to break guys. And he annoys me with the media. I knew that was going to happen, though. That's part of the John Tortorella experience. But it's already annoying in my eyes. All right, what's not annoying is watching Carter Hart play because the kid is sick. This is unreal. Carter Hart is no joke. We always talk about how there's no stars for the Philadelphia Flyers. Carter Hart is a star. Carter Hart is a game changer. And he's 24 years old. Maybe he's 25 now, or is he still 24? He might be 25. The good part about it, though, is he's 24. He turns 25 in August. So you got some time. He's played a bunch, and this is why it's a blessing and a curse to call up a kid when he's super young as a netminder. But I think we're starting to see the benefits of it because he's more comfortable, you know? Because if you go back, I mean, his first season was, 2018? Yeah, 2018, 2019. So this is his his fifth season in the NHL, and he's 24 years old. That's absurd. He just looks like a more confident player. Doesn't seem like he's getting beat the same ways he was in previous seasons. We know he was going down. He was getting beat up high, glove side. Guys were letting it rip past his ear. Now you're watching a game against the Devils, and you look up at the scoreboard, and you see 40 shots on net for New Jersey and 6 for the Flyers. Yet they're still able to, kind of come away with one. He steals the show. How ironic. Finally, the Flyers have a goalie, and the rest of their team just sucks. I've seen a lot of this, though. Why are you so angry with Tortorella and not the front office? Dude, you don't think I'm mad with Chuck Fletcher? You don't think I'm outraged at the nonsense? You got the old school guys still calling shots. Whether you like it or not, all the old school Flyers have opinions on Chuck Fletcher, his family, all the, this is, they feel bad for Chuck. They don't want to ruin his reputation. Don't you think the money and the trades and the poor drafting, that doesn't affect it enough? Like, come on now. I don't know what Danny Briere is going to be. And I can't just pretend that Danny Briere is automatically a lock. Especially if Chuck Fletcher still has a title that's over him. But that's where it all begins, for sure. It's not mutually exclusive. I like a lot of what Tortorella does, but this particular situation I despise, and I think it's a controllable. He even said it, I changed over the years because of the way these athletes are. I don't think you really did. And if you did, it's definitely not enough. It's not the player's fault. The coach has to adapt. It's like, kids these days are soft. Well, this is what it is. So either you adapt with the times or you get lost in the times. He needs more skill. If he ran a similar system with a lot of skill, I think you could get a lot done. And a lot of these guys, it runs with fear. You got to bust your ass because you're afraid. And there is legitimacy to that. And don't tell me if a coach breaks a player, it's the player's fault. There's levels to all this. There's degrees to it. It's a case-by-case study. But this is also how you lose a room. When guys like Kevin Hayes, who's beloved by everybody in this league, he's got definitely a big reputation of being a loved guy. And this is how locker rooms kind of break apart. But I don't think Tortorella cares because I don't think he likes a lot of what's in there anyway. And that's what he wants everyone to know, especially Chuck Fletcher. He despises Chuck Fletcher. So everything he says, it's all about sending some sort of dialogue to Chuck Fletcher or to Dave Scott about Chuck Fletcher. He's thinking it through. Every single sentence he says aloud to the public is so someone can hear that Chuck Fletcher's bad at his job, which I don't mind. But I said this in the beginning. Is it really about what you see in Hayes? Because at that point, you're just using him in your act, and that's unfair to the player. I know I stressed a lot about that, but like I said, I do have some passion for it. I have passion for Cutter Gauthier, by the way. We rip draft picks all the time, but I think there's something filthy in Cutter Gauthier at Boston College. And I've been watching a lot of BC on the ESPN Plus app because they've been throwing college hockey your way a lot. and I've been tuning into that. A lot of Hockey East, to be honest with you. UVM, BU. I've been kind of going through it all. Even some random Nebraska, Omaha, Michigan State was on like a week and a half ago or so. I've been crushing college hockey. But this kid, the puck is on and off his stick in seconds in the slot. He's ripping twine. He's 18 years old. He's a true freshman. And you're tearing up college hockey. Doesn't happen very often. Not like this. I'm not telling you he's going to walk all over the league, but it's a great start to a young prospect. And he'll be playing in the World Juniors, which is always the best time of the year. So I'm looking forward to it. The last thing I have really on my notes at this point is the Cam Atkinson injury. The coach was asked questions, or maybe it was even the GM. Maybe it was Chuck Fletcher who was asked questions about the rumor that there's more to it than just the neck, and they're saying it's a little bit different of a neck injury than Joel Farabee's neck injury and what he went through, but there was a rumor that there's more going on. I've talked to a lot of people around the situation. They tend to believe that there is more going on. We definitely get on this organization with a lot of frustration with some injuries and not getting information. This one, just based off of what I'm hearing and who I'm talking to, I'm going to back away. There's not many times I'll give them a free pass. For this one, I believe there's a little bit more to it, and with respect to the player, I'll kind of back off this one. Take that for what it is, but there's definitely some more that's going on. So, all right, everyone. That's what I have on our Flyers update. Still watching this team every night. It's painful. It's painful. They work their asses off, but I'm still rooting for them to lose, and that's painful. It's a painful way. I never get there. This is so low on my list. I never really root for my teams to lose. I don't like that. Oh, tank for Bedard. I don't know if you're going to get Bedard. There's so many bad teams out there. You lost to the Blue Jackets twice somehow. They're bad. They're also banged up extremely. And watching Johnny Gaudreau toe drag through the neutral zone or through I guess the gray area inside the blue line in the offensive zone, letting it rip. I'm like, dude, that guy's gross. I know what they're going to do. They're going to overpay for Dylan Larkin, and they didn't want to go get Gaudreau. I don't know why that's what my gut says. Anyway, thank you guys. I love you. I'll talk to you on the next one.